Believe it or not, this is a football stadium. How would you like to play on this? That was Bairiki National Stadium in Kiribati, and yeah, it's mostly sand. And I'm not kidding, this really does exist. It's a real thing. You likely haven't heard of it, of course. I mean, Kiribati isn't even ranked by FIFA. This 2020 article from Oceania Football Center indicates that a new stadium is allegedly being built in Kiribati. But it's 2024 now, and I haven't seen any evidence of a new stadium at all. Yeah, that article claims that there's a so-called Mormon soccer field with a grass surface somewhere in the country of Kiribati. That's a little bit surprising to me, especially given my own background. But then again, I'm not all that surprised that they don't have many grass pitches in Kiribati. I mean, Kiribati really is just a collection of islands, and small islands at that. 32 atolls and 1 coral island to be precise. This spans over 1 million square miles of ocean and includes only 313 square miles of total land. Don't know where Kiribati is? God bless you, Wikipedia. Kiribati is this collection of islands somewhat south of Hawaii. We're talking about a population of just under 120,000. That's not a ton. Many people still live in villages like this one, although urbanization is starting to set in just like it is everywhere else in the world. Wow, only 120,000 people. You know, we lived in Beijing, China for a couple of years. I swear I've stood on street corners where there were around 100,000 people around me, like just on that block. That kind of puts things into perspective. Kiribati does have a national football team and a football association. It hasn't exactly had the best of results in international play, and note that none of these were home matches. Now, the reason should be obvious. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to expect to play an international football match on sand. The idea is kind of cool, to be honest, but we're getting to this point where it's just not football. And then we get to the national championship. Once every few years, they have a national championship in Kiribati. There are 23 teams, which means that the groups are uneven. There's a tournament held right after the group play, which then decides the winner. Well, at least I think that's how it works. I mean, there are not a whole ton of resources out there to confirm any of this, and at least that's the way it works in Football Manager. That's right, you can play in Kiribati in Football Manager. All you need is the right editor data file, and then you're set. You're probably wondering how I know all of this. I mean, it's really not that common for Football Manager players to manage in Kiribati or to even know how to say the name. I don't think that there are any Football Manager content creators who've created any content about this either. Well, you see, way back in Football Manager 21, somebody created something called the Ultimate World Cup Challenge to go along with Dave the Editor's Global Mega Pack. This person came up with a complicated scoring system and a list of all the leagues you could play through. Kiribati was very last. Some of us thought it might be cool to try to play through every country in Football Manager, or at least as many as we could before we got sick of it. I started off by managing Abemama in Kiribati. As you can see, it's not exactly the most populous place in the world. Google did give it 5 stars, however. After a few hours, I had won the championship, on a sand pitch, no less. Now, this isn't my photo, but it does give you an idea of what Football Manager looks like on sand. And yes, it's a thing in the game. Well, that challenge didn't last long. Now, the problem is that the smaller countries don't offer any kind of difference in gameplay. This is a huge problem in Football Manager. I mean, it's fun from time to time to mess around in amateur-level Football Manager, but it really becomes tedious if you're going from one amateur country to the next trying to win each one of the leagues. But you know what? I want to give it a try again. So let's do it together. Let's head off to Kiribati and see what happens. Make sure to add players to playable teams, since you're not going to convince anybody good to play for nothing on the sand. I decided to manage Christmas because Christmas. And so it started. Now, with a 5-game regular season and with a tournament at the end if you're lucky, there's not a whole ton of time to do tactical experimentation. And to be honest, I'm really not that interested in doing that level of tactical experimentation. And so I did what anybody else would have done. I went over to FM Arena and just got one of the recommended Hall of Fame tactics. I got this one, the Gasp 4 version 4 tactic. It's nice and uneven, just how I like it. I'm not sure if it counts as broken or exploitative, and frankly, I don't care. Now, you need to know that this is not Christmas Island. This is a different island named Kiritimati. It's also spelled wrong in this Football Manager database, by the way. Here is Christmas on Google Maps. The name is indeed derived from the word Christmas. Again, Wikipedia provides us with the most helpful map possible. There are about 6,500 people in Christmas, which is actually pretty impressive. To give you an idea of how far it is from everything, it would take about 7 hours to fly there from Hilo, Hawaii, and that's assuming that you find a direct flight, which appears not to exist. In other words, there's no place for us to go, there's no place for us to hide. We came here, we've got to fight our way out of this. It's win or die. We play our matches in Bairiki National Stadium just like every other team in the league. The surface is listed as sand. You'd think that this would make scheduling friendlies and trainings difficult, but apparently not. And really, this is a big opportunity wasted by Sports Interactive. I mean, it would be really interesting if you had all sorts of logistical constraints if you happen to be ground sharing with 10 or 20 other teams. Especially if your team is based in an island that's, I don't know, like a boat ride of 10 hours away from where you're playing your games and where you're training. But unfortunately, the people who created Football Manager never thought that anybody would want to manage in such an obscure place. And, I mean, I don't know why. We're not looking so hot in the season preview, are we? 19th place doesn't sound like much fun to me. Well, if you want to win in a league like this, there are a few things you need to do. First, you absolutely must schedule friendlies before the season. This is absolutely mandatory if you're playing with a semi-pro or amateur club. Second, you need to study the Dream 11. Since we're in an amateur league, every one of these players can be signed for nothing. Third, push your scouting up as far as you can, but just for your initial look through the teams. You can then knock this down to nothing once you're done looking. This ensures that every player in the country is visible. Fourth, when you do your domestic scouting, don't worry about actually scouting players. Arrange them by pace and acceleration and just hire them. You can then release them for free if you don't want them at all. Well, and that brings me to the most important tip. If you look at the rules, you'll notice that you have 3 foreigner slots. Use them. Go to nations with amateur players and raid their national teams. I got Jermaine Sione from American Samoa for nothing since he doesn't have a team for whatever reason. As you can see, the board were extremely happy with this signing. I didn't scout Sione, but I knew I probably didn't have to. He's on their national team for a reason. However, keep in mind that some players will have a bunch of garbage reasons to not sign for you, stuff like standard of living and level of infrastructure. How unrealistic. Okay, I know. It's not realistic to go raiding the national teams of nearby islands or of like Southeast Asian countries in order to make a super team in an amateur league in a very, very small country that hardly ever plays. I mean, I get it, but it's fun and it helps ensure that you're actually successful during your time in Kiribati. Now, this is how the groups are structured in Football Manager. You've got 4 different groups and the top 4 clubs all qualify for the tournament. That makes a 16-team tournament, so 4 rounds. I don't know if that's true to life or not, and I can't find any information to confirm any of this. Well, that's part of the fun, of course. You can't be fussy about realism when you don't know what is and is not realistic, so this just lets you use your imagination. After making our transfers, we're now favorite to win the title. We're clearly the best team in the country. Sione is the odds-on favorite to be the top goal scorer. I told you he was a good signing. Taniela Vakauta from Tonga is the favorite to have the top ranking. We should be good to go for my debut. Oh yeah, before we get into the game, here's what the schedule looks like. It's 2 matches per week for us. As you can see in this scheduling example, we've got 3 matches a day on the same sand pitch. Our first match was against Abiyamama, the team I managed in Kiribati all those years ago. We wasted no time scoring, and it was pretty easy from there.
Drives it forward. Brilliant!
Our 4-0 victory was simply dominant. In fact, all of our initial group games were easy.
Good outlet. In a good area. A finish right from the top draw.
We did draw one of our 5 matches, but it wasn't a huge deal.
Keepers these days have done their homework. Oh, what a goal!
Sione was clearly the most dominant player in the league, and it showed.
They've done it!
He scored like it was going out of
It's
style.
dealt with by the keeper. Looking to find the extra gear here. Looking to run onto it. An adventurous pass. Regathering themselves. It is a fantastic goal!
We wound up completely dominating our group with 13 points from 5 matches and a goal differential of 15. It's amazing how quickly those games went by, but hey, at least we did really well. On to the round of 16 against Tabetua North. We won an early penalty.
Heavy responsibility. Oh, it really is a finish of the highest order.
But then we conceded an early goal.
There's a goal!
And I'm going to be honest with you, I was really nervous.
Against the crossbar.
We had a goal disallowed for offside on a corner. This was called offside. What do you think?
That was impressive.
We hit the bar here,
Crossbar comes to the rescue.
and we were offside once again here.
Good position here.
We should have lost it in the last minute, but had good luck. They hit the bar.
Crowd scene in the middle now. Oh, crossbar!
Our keeper made a huge save in the penalties. He followed that up with another big save.
Brilliantly.
And it was Dodd, our big boy in the back, with the penalty to win it.
Contest.
That was an exhausting and a nerve-wracking match. Seriously, I was more nervous for that match than I usually am when I play this game, and we still had 3 more games to go. Before I forget, I should introduce you to our keeper, George Thomas. He's 16 years old and is inconsistent to boot. But when you've got an offense like this, you don't worry about the defense. The quarterfinals were easy. We won 2-0.
And that is quite wonderful.
We got an early penalty in the semifinal for a quick 1-0 lead.
Steps up. A perfect move and a perfect ending.
One of their players was sent off with a straight red for this ridiculous tackle on Sione.
It's a straight red. He has been given his marching orders.
Jordan Brown, who has an awful star rating, scored a wonder goal.
Searching crossfield. Floats one over. There it is.
And here was what I thought was our best goal of the season. We won this match 3-0 and we're headed for the final.
That is quite something.
One more match to go and then we're done with Kiribati, at least for this year. It's been pretty fast, actually. In fact, if you want a save that will last you maybe 3 hours one afternoon, give Kiribati a try. It's really easy to knock out on a lazy Sunday afternoon. Vakauta, our Tongan, should have scored here.
It's wide, but only just.
We conceded a goal right afterwards, but it was whistled back. And then we hit the post again.
Fired deep towards the back post. They're denied by the woodwork. Cleared.
However, it was none other than Jordan Brown who put us up.
Oh, screamer!
They had a second goal called back.
That was impressive.
And we responded with this corner.
And he's found the net.
Thomas really came through here.
Brilliant save. It was certainly dipping.
This was the 3rd goal they had called back in the match. That must have been frustrating. Meanwhile, Sione scored again, putting us up 3-0 for good.
Oh, special. That is a special goal.
And so we won. Now, there wasn't a trophy lifting ceremony for whatever reason, and I'm not sure I understand why not. In fact, there were a lot of bugs. For example, I couldn't change the match selection. Something about the registration process was bugged out. I think it comes from the editor data file. As you can see, I've clearly given myself the ability to select the match squad. Well, the board gave me a B+ for winning the league and going undefeated. Well, anyway, this seems to be par for the course with Football Manager 24. That final Sione goal was listed as the goal of the year. Not sure if I agree with that. The timeline was filled with a bunch of garbage about how we set a new record for fewest points scored by our side. This is because there are no past records. And on the Manager of the Season press release, we were listed as losing the final match that we actually won. Well, so it is. Sports Interactive still have a long way to go. Kiribati was fun to revisit, though my next project will be in a more conventional league. Seriously though, I really recommend giving Kiribati a try if you haven't. Like I said, it's a really good way to pass away a few hours, and in the end you end up feeling really satisfied.